Y'all remember when our boomer aunts would post on Facebook that all lives matter? Look, I know boomers are going to do what they do best, and part of that is not being up to speed with what it takes to be an anti-racist. They're too busy watching cable TV, eating tuna casserole in between games of Yahtzee. Okay. Now, that may be true, but actually, I think it has more to do with the fact that despite their tech and culinary limitations, they're older and wiser than us, and they have a hell of a lot more common sense. Hear me out, though. Believe me, I do understand the outrage that people have when they see the All Lives Matter post from the Facebook aunt. Or correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's something like this. The reason we're saying Black Lives Matter is because we're protesting the fact that Black lives are not valued in our society. We're trying to point that out. We're not saying that Black lives matter more than other lives. We're saying, hey, remember us? We're part of the human race too. And you're treating us like dirt. I get that perspective. I see where they're coming from. And I can see how the phrase all lives matter is like a slap in the face because it sounds like the Black Lives Matter position is being willfully misunderstood. And I don't think anybody hates anything more than having their political and philosophical positions misunderstood, minimized, made into straw men. Fair enough, but I think that we're also willfully misunderstanding where the Facebook aunt is coming from. I think there's a very profound and good reason why the instinctive reaction for a lot of people to the slogan Black Lives Matter is all lives matter. And I won't hide behind my Facebook aunt, okay? It was and is my instinctive reaction as well. And here's the reason. I don't think our Facebook aunts are denying the historical oppression of Black people. I mean, not my aunts. I don't know about your aunts, okay? And I don't think they're turning a blind eye to any injustices that may be done to Black people or any other minority. Look, an All Lives Matter sloganeer may well have the same passion for true justice as a Black Lives Matter sloganeer. The difference is that our Facebook aunts know in their bones that true justice will never be attained if it is sought in a tribalistic way. Okay, our aunts are trying to prevent us at the outset of treating justice like it's a zero-sum game in which your team needs to fight against the other team for a share of the pie. Okay, they realize that tribalism kills civilizations and it destroys peace. And now this is precisely the kind of division that is sown in the now infamous CRT movement. And look, I know that there's a lot of debate about CRT, what it even is, whether it's actually taught at schools. Okay, is it good? Is it bad? As always, we want to look at the worldview behind it to better understand what we're dealing with. The public debate over CRT is very much overdue. It's not really anything new, or certainly its foundations go back to the late 19th century. In their book, Critical Race Theory, An Introduction, Richard Delgado and Gene Stefanczyk explain that CRT builds on the foundations of Gramsci, Foucault, and Derrida, among others. And accurately, Delgado and Stefanczyk are showing us that if CRT is the top of an iceberg, the bottom of the iceberg is the worldview provided by postmodernism, as represented in part by Foucault and Derrida, and also neo-Marxism, as represented in part by Gramsci. To give you an example, we see the postmodern influence on CRT when Delgado and Stefanczyk explain that the idea of legal indeterminacy is foundational to CRT. Legal indeterminacy, they write, is the idea that not every legal case has one correct outcome. Instead, one can decide most cases either way by emphasizing one line of authority over another or interpreting one fact differently from the way one's adversary does. What we see here is the postmodern way of looking at the world. There's no fixed or natural truth in life. Instead, there are individual narratives that people or groups may have. Narratives, okay? There's not a right or wrong answer in the courtroom. It's really just a question of whose narrative will win, whose version of justice will win. It's precisely because of this postmodern aspect to CRT that Delgado and Stefanczyk also say. They say critical race theory questions the very foundations of the liberal order, including equality theory, legal reasoning, Enlightenment rationalism, and neutral principles of constitutional law. Liberal order, by the way, y'all, I mean, that's really just a reference to like the nature of the United States Declaration of Independence, the nature of our regime, the way it protects natural rights, right? Equality, neutral principles of constitutional law. Listen, when people say, why are people freaking out about CRT, right? What's the big deal? Look, guys, who knows? Maybe CRT is completely correct, but let's get one thing straight. It is a freakishly big deal, okay? CRT questions equality theory, legal reasoning, neutral principles of constitutional law, the liberal order, so it questions the foundations of our civil society. Yeah, that's a big deal. And honestly, it's not surprising. This is completely in line with a postmodern worldview. And our society is actually not founded on a postmodern worldview. And look, on the other hand, also, then we see the neo-Marxist influence. We see the neo-Marxist worldview of CRT and how it treats race, as it treats it as the central factor in human relations. Now, for Marx, okay, social class and economics, right? Social class and economics is what is determinative. History, according to Marx, is the dialectical class struggle between the proletariat, the proletariat and the bourgeoisie. All questions of justice redound to a class struggle. And similarly in CRT, all questions of justice redound to a race struggle instead of a class struggle. But we see that parallel. Now, to be sure, in postmodern fashion, CRT doesn't hold that race is, quote, objective, inherent, or fixed. It corresponds to no biological or genetic reality. Rather, races are categories that society invents. Now, and that being said, Delgado and Stefanczyk state that the first tenet of CRT is that racism is ordinary, not aberrational. The usual way society does business, the common everyday experience of most people of color in this country. So in other words, racism permeates our life. Even if there are no individual racists, as we usually understand the term, okay, CRT, of course, introduces this vague idea of systemic racism. This explains why our own Facebook aunts would tell people who are shouting at them, wait a second, believe me, I'm not a racist. I don't have any racist feelings towards black people. And then, of course, the anti-racists are like, oh, you're so cute, Facebook aunt. You just don't understand that racism is actually in the system. Even if you're not individually racist, it permeates all of your reality because of the institutions in which you live. Okay. Now, I actually do apologize for laughing. I mean, this is serious. Just that it boggles my mind sometimes. Just that we don't see how bizarre this worldview is. And listen, to be sure, we have had racism systematized in our laws in the past. Okay, I mean, Jim Crow laws were systemic racism. Slavery used to be legal in the country. Okay, people always bring up, and as a good point, the practice of redlining in housing in the past. And yes, this is all true. And guess what? All of these things are illegal now. Okay, the last vestiges of systemic racism in our laws were annihilated in the Civil Rights Act. I mean, frankly, the only laws in our country that favor or disfavor individuals because of their race are the affirmative action laws. And yet, the CRT movement insists that systemic racism is present. I guess it's vaguely present in the very institutions of our society. Well, that's what they argue. But how do they know? Well, that's because according to them, the proof is in the disparities. Okay, disparities in wealth and incarceration, etc. Now listen, some of these disparities are undeniable, especially the disparity of incarceration. But some, it turns out, need a closer look, like the wealth disparity. But aside from that, I'm not arguing that unequal outcomes shouldn't be a source of concern, especially if they're very skewed to a particular community. It would be, at the very least, an indication that our civil society is failing somewhere. Okay? But to argue that the fact of unequal outcome proves in and of itself that the governmental institutions of a society are whole cloth racist is an idea that can only come from a historicist, neo-Marxist, postmodern worldview. Maybe that worldview is completely correct and true. I just want to make sure that we know what we're signing up for before we swallow that hook. And you see, the positions of CRT actually make perfect sense if you grasp the worldview. In a postmodern worldview, there's no fixed or inherent truth that exists outside of ourselves. There's a reason why the clamor is for social justice and not true justice or natural justice or just plain justice. Okay. In this worldview, there's no fixed or true human nature on which to make comparisons. The measuring rod is not a fixed and eternal truth, but rather the power dynamics of individuals and groups. Like Thrasymachus argues in Plato's Republic, justice in this view is simply the advantage of the stronger. There's nothing true or false about it. It's simply a question of who's on top. CRT basically assumes that life is a battleground of competing truth narratives, each one represented by a different race or interest group. Oh, is the U.S. a majority white population? Yeah. Are a majority of the people in power white? Yeah. Oh, well, obviously they're carrying out their version of justice, and they're fine, but anyone who isn't white is screwed. Isn't that the mentality? Right? And that's the mentality of postmodernism and Thrasymachus before it. You know, the ancients actually went through a lot of this in the past. There's nothing new under the sun. What I'm driving at, everyone, is that there are more ways to promote the good of minorities generally, and Black and Hispanic people in particular, than signing up with CRT and Black Lives Matter. The way forward in our society is to fight for the natural rights of human beings. See, that's a goal that is clear, that is based on natural truth instead of truth narratives. And most importantly, that bases justice on the common humanity of all people. Okay? I want progress for Black people just as much as anyone. I don't need anyone to question my heart and my motives. If opposition to CRT is automatically taken as opposition to progress for Black people, then we've truly lost our avenues of communication. And look, I don't question the motivation of CRT proponents. They obviously are trying to figure out the best way forward as well. My argument is that the natural rights tradition of our founding, espoused by Frederick Douglass as a promissory note that had yet to be fulfilled for Black Americans, by Lincoln, who by his statesmanship was able to preserve the principles of the founding in the face of a South that had lost and forgotten those principles, by MLK, who continued to carry the torch of natural rights for all people independent of the color of their skin. This tradition is the better way forward. Or at least I'm arguing that CRT is a dead end. It can only lead to an interminable conflict of racial interest groups because that's the worldview it lives in. In his book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, Ibram X. Kendi writes this: "The only remedy to racist discrimination is anti-racist discrimination. The only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. The only remedy to present discrimination is future discrimination." Guys, like what the actual hell? I mean, so then when does the discrimination end? It's endless. And this isn't a one-off. This actually is pretty well representative of the worldview, right? An eternal conflict of tribes. And you know who understands really well that this is all a load of crap? Your aunt on Facebook. Well, guys, we have a little bit more on this coming up, including what's going on in our schools. It's also time we did a little Would You Rather, And also, we have a top 5 today. We're doing top 5 Leo DiCaprio movies. See what you guys think. My name's Jim Haran. My brother Sal's here with me. We're the Worldview Bros.
Jimmy boy, how you doing, man?
Just kind of dreading, like all my aunts calling me up and
Like,
tell
who are
me
you talking about
the
there?
what the hell.
I know, right? Exactly.
But I mean, they're. I'm saying they're the good guys. Like,
Yeah.
Hopefully, they see it as a compliment.
Yeah.
But
yeah, for sure.
I hope I didn't offend their culinary skills.
Right.
I actually
I'm letting you go free on this one too, man. I don't. Gosh, I mean, it's hard to know what to cover more, like, what more to cover. Sorry. Yeah.
I just want to say my aunts actually cook just fine. I was just saying it as that's like the typical trope. Okay.
Our aunts.
Now,
yes.
okay, they do. Yeah, they have casseroles and stuff like that, but they're delicious. So anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, Jim, I want to hear. I want to hear more. I mean, I know you have a little bit more. Just kind of touching on those big ideas about CRT, and then also just kind of like what's behind the mask of that, right?
No, right. I mean, I think it's just important that we understand where this comes from. This is in the news a lot right now because, of course, as you know, a lot of parents are protesting at the school boards that they ought not to be teaching this kind of thing to our children. Mm-hmm. And the reality is, if you've kind of seen in the news, what a lot of the heads of some of these organizations, they're saying, no, we're not teaching CRT, right? This is what McCullough was saying in Virginia. He was kind of sticking by his story. We are, of course, not teaching CRT. And they're just hiding behind this technicality that, oh no, we're not going over like the law tradition that this comes from. Like, we're not teaching the college level course on CRT. Is kind of like the little curtain they're hiding behind.
Yeah.
Okay, then let's not call it CRT. Then let's just call it like this perspective on race that, of course, is new in our culture, let's put it that way. Of course, it has its roots beforehand. Yeah. But no, we're talking about, we've seen this in many schools. Like, yeah, we can go through the list, but the reality is pretty much everybody knows that it is being taught in schools.
Yeah.
Like this whole thing where you get people in line and and you take like 5 steps forward if you're white kind of thing. Have you kind of seen these exercises? No. Oh yeah, dude. It's like, oh well, if you're white, take 5 steps forward. If you had both of your parents, then you take 3 steps forward.
Yes, I've seen that. Yeah.
And then at the end, you see like, oh, some people are way ahead and some people are in the back.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess those are the bad guys, and over here we're the good guys.
Yeah.
Like
right.
My sister, Paulina was saying that they did that kind of thing in UD when she was there. And I was just like, oh, dude, even at UD, we're kind of just imbibing this idea that we have to look at each other as this kind of not a class struggle, but a race struggle, right? And that whole mentality, of course, has its roots in Marxism, and it has its roots in Hegel, even, of course. I would argue probably the so-called silent majority, like the majority of parents, just don't really agree with that worldview. Yeah. They don't want that kind of thing being taught. And of course, the argument is, oh, you just don't want children to hear the truth about the past racism in this country. I don't think that's an argument made in good faith. Okay, people who are saying that, no, that when you were in high school, you were taught about some of the bad things that happened in this country, right? We know, of course, of our history with slavery. We know the awful philosophy that was taught in the South by John C. Calhoun, and we can analyze his political thought, how it's garbage, No, of course all of these things have been taught.
Oh, yeah, all those things, yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It's no. What people who oppose CRT, their thing is, we just kind of refuse to look at the world under this lens where race is like the be-all and end-all to our identity, right? Race shouldn't be the central point of our identity. Just,
Right.
you know what else?
Yeah.
Just like gender, right? Shouldn't be like the central aspect of our identity either, right?
Yeah.
And that when...
the basis of your morality is what you think about race, and like what, how aware are you of race?
What makes us human is something that we have that we share with everyone.
Yeah.
Right. That's it. And that questions of justice, questions of how we ought to live together, need to be in that tradition. They need to take for granted that there is a real justice that we can aim at. That is the preservation of our natural rights that we all have simply by virtue of being human beings.
Yeah. See, I can't help but go to the Christian side of it of just thinking about how as sinners, like what we want, right, is, or at least that what we're thankful for is that we're able to come to God and say, forgive me, have mercy on me, wipe me new,
right?
And then be able to better yourself from that moment on and continue to make the right choices, right? And continue to seek good, right? And be a good person and love God and love the people around you, right? Not necessarily, linger on the things that we ask for forgiveness for, and then let it shape what we do and how we move forward and stuff. Yeah. I mean, you're naturally going to remember those things. You're going to remember, there is burden that comes with history, right? And your past choices and the things you've done.
But it doesn't define your life.
Right.
Of your life, not the life of your ancestor.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that the future, right, and how you move forward is completely tainted or done for, or is exactly the same or should be the same.
Well, the comparison is good because, of course, in the Christian religion, you actually do have redemption. You actually can have forgiveness for your sin.
Exactly.
It's not just, well, okay, I guess I'll, in the religion, of CRT, it's like, well, you're born a certain way, and I mean, you're just going to have to continually say sorry for the rest of your life. And of course, we see how this plays out in public as well. When a famous person says something naughty, that he was caught saying on YouTube or something else. Okay, well, the guy said the wrong word. Like the coach in the NFL who was in the news recently, same thing, right? Like they find an old email that demonstrates your original sin, and there's no coming back from it. Like your career is ended, your life is essentially ended. You can't show your face anywhere. Where is forgiveness? Where is reconciliation and forgiveness in this worldview? I don't see it. Yeah. Not unless if you kind of take hold of all of their premises, right, and preach them, and even then you're always bound to be like a second-class citizen if you're of a particular color. Yeah. I just wanted to show just one thing, to demonstrate that this actually is taught in schools. So this is a elementary school in Cupertino, in Meyerholtz Elementary. So here, and this is from an article by Rufo from City Journal. The lesson essentially is one where the students are supposed to learn about their social identities. And now this is third grade elementary school. And so the kids are told to create an identity map. And so in their identity map, they need to list their race, their class, gender, religion. And then the teacher in the instructions says this: in this country, there's a dominant culture of white, middle-class, cisgender, educated, able-bodied Christian English speakers who, then later on she says, who, quote, created and maintained this culture in order to hold power and stay in power. So, just right off the bat, in that assignment, notice what the premise is. That, hey, you have a majority kind of population in the country, and they hold and maintain power, right? So that's that's actually like in line with CRT. The way that the country works is really just power dynamics of different racial groups, right? Then as part of the assignment, they actually read from a book. This book is called the title of the book is "This Book is Anti-Racist," and in this book they learn, that quote, those with privilege have power over others. So again, the idea of the power dynamic of those who are in power have this privilege. Okay, the majority population, like the majority race in particular, right? This is along racial lines. In the assignment, the kids have to circle the identities that, quote, hold power and privilege. Like from their identity map, they have to circle the identities that hold power and privilege. So it's like the same thing about like walking 5 steps, stuff like that. Yeah, this worldview is being taught in our schools. And, I was just making a search of some of the schools. We already know that things like lessons like these are going on. In the Arizona Department of Education, like one thing is the lessons that you actually give out to the kids, or lessons that teachers will teach the kids. And then another thing is how the teachers are being prepared, or what the Department of Education is making the teachers learn, right? So in the Arizona Department of Education, they created, they call it the Equity Toolkit. And it's basically just a bunch of resources for teachers, not only teachers, but parents to become informed, right, about these issues. And this actually made the news because this is where infamously in the toolkit, it says that babies show signs of racism as soon as they're 3 months old. That white babies in particular, white babies have a strong bias in favor of whiteness by age of 5. Just, a bunch of stuff.
Wow.
Parents, it says parents, quote, can have a black friend, a black partner or child, and still be racist, right? So like these ideas that of course we've heard before. No, of course it's out there. Of course it's pretty much in every state. And look, again, we can have the discussion whether, like I said, I mean, it may well be that CRT is completely correct. Obviously you can see that I don't think so.
Yeah.
But is it being taught? Of course it's being taught. Okay. Yeah. And I think it's fair that parents should have a voice, and they should not be met by intimidation from the Justice Department that they're actually using the FBI to investigate some of these parents based off of simply the letter that the National School Boards Association sent to them. That's what Garland said, that just based on that letter, he immediately went into full protective mode, like let the FBI know, hey, make sure to keep an eye on parents, what they're doing in the school boards. Dude, this is not not a good situation, and I think that something has to be done about it. I think that parents need to be respected. Their voice needs to be respected when it comes to how their kids are being taught. Yeah, that was always my perspective as a teacher. I mean, I always saw myself as I'm just the hired hand here. I always have this idea that ultimately it's the parents who are in charge of the child's education. Yeah. Sure, me as a math teacher, as a physics teacher, I have the know-how to kind of teach them some of this more precise kind of knowledge. Right. But the way I look at it is it's really the parents' duty to teach their children. They, of course, are the head of their household, and they should have a say on, not only should they have a say, they are at the head. They lead the education of their kids. Right. Okay. Exactly. The teacher is a hired hand. Taking ownership of that. The teacher is a hired hand to teach some specific things. Definitely. But the mentality, I think, that for a lot of these school boards is, no. You stay in your lane, parent. We are the child's teacher.
Yes. We're the experts on how to educate and how to form your kids. Right. Really. That's where it comes into. It's like a matter of like a formation. Yeah. Right. They are the teachers are the experts in their particular fields, but they're not. Yeah. They don't. They don't know what's best for my child. Right. And like the overall
education of the child. You're right. The moral formation of the child, the religious beliefs of the child, everything else. The most important things are in the hands of the parents. And the way that we should see ourselves as teachers is as aides, as helpers in teaching specific content to the kids. So.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's move into our first of these next two segments, which is top 5. Today is top 5 Leonardo DiCaprio movies.
That's right.
In my opinion, obviously.
Yes. So I love Leo DiCaprio. There are a few movies that I haven't seen, so I didn't want to make my own top 5 list, but I want to share with you just like I know for sure like what my number 1 is and probably a number 2.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I think we're going to be similar on some of these.
Okay.
So the first one is Django Unchained. And the reason why it's in my top 5 is it's just incredible to see. It's just how you just see how he takes on the cruelty and like the I don't know, the menacing character that would be a slave owner that has a fight club in his house.
Right.
That
was an intense performance.
Yes.
It's one that obviously draws your attention, right? It's very drastic, very dramatic.
And it kind of shows, it's something like it's a role he had never done before, really. Yeah. And, you're typically, you still get the like classic Leonardo DiCaprio like intensity of like his lines, but like the menacing character just is like it's really good. Just his performance is really good.
It has to be on the list. So
it's 5.
Okay, I agree.
4. Inception. Now 4 is the one I was alluding to that I think the story itself, Inception, is just an incredible movie. One of the best in the Nolan, out of the Nolan movies.
One of my favorite Nolans,
movies. Yeah. And, his performance, and this speaks a lot to Inception, the movie, like his performance really, it doesn't make the movie like he does in a lot of other movies.
It's almost like it doesn't ask for it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But because he's Leonardo DiCaprio, because the movie is so good, he only adds to it, right? Yeah. And makes it better. I think someone else could have played that part, and the movie would still be great, right? Yeah. But because it's Leonardo DiCaprio, it adds a little bit of oomph to it, right? And it's a little bit more believable because it's such an abstract movie. Right. But it's. You get some of those classic Leo moments where he's like really connecting with people. He convinces people you are in a dream or you're not in a dream. Yeah. Right.
That's a really good scene.
You get that kind of like where he goes into the like, oh, we're gonna trick this guy, right?
Right.
And it's really cool.
When the guy starts waking up, right, or being aware, and like all the people turn, right.
Yes, and he's
he needs to like
you hear the weather, you see like the rain coming and all those things, and it's just the classic smoothness
it's salesman smooth.
Yes, it's really good. And he plays that perfectly. It's really cool.
No, I agree. I think it was a movie that didn't require an immense amount of talent, but or maybe it just kind of works so well that you almost don't kind of notice that talent was there.
Exactly.
But no, fantastic performance. Yeah. I'm down with that.
So this leads perfectly into the number 3 because this is kind of the same style of acting that character of like very smooth and salesman-like. But like this was the roots of that. You started to see that he plays this character well in this movie, which is my number 3, and it's Catch Me If You Can.
See, I've actually never seen this movie. I know it's kind of a crime.
It's a great movie. It really is.
I bet it is. I have to confess. I don't know if I've said this before. I'm not a huge fan of Spielberg. There are a few great Spielberg movies that kind of make it into my notice, but usually I'm not super excited about a Spielberg movie.
Well, here's the thing. I think part of it, you saying that, I have to tell you, my counter to that is it's Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Sure. So it's like their greatness kind of makes up for, that concern that you might have on a Spielberg movie, right?
No, I mean, it
And
definitely
so-
merits a watch. So
And the
I
fact
should
that
watch
it's a true story, it's not really a made story of Spielberg's, right? Anyways, so this was probably the very first movie I ever saw of Leonardo DiCaprio, and he plays like 3 different people in this, like, and you just see there's like a wide range of all the way from like he's playing like he's just the normal Frank, right? Early teenager, going through some traumatic things with a broken home, right? To then playing a salesman, to then playing a pilot. He starts to really show off like who he is as an actor. I'm like, I'm here. This is me. I'm ready to play whatever you throw at me, right?
Still relatively early in his career.
Yeah.
But this is after like Titanic and
After those.
Shakespeare.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, which Titanic was an honorable mention, and I'll get to that. Number 2 is one I recently watched. I had never seen it till recently, and that is Shutter Island.
Oh.
And I was just absolutely floored. This is another one where the movie is just really great, right? Yeah. But I think it's more of it's a combination of both the movie being great and Leo being amazing. Yeah. I don't see that really being that good with anybody else doing it. I don't know. I mean, who knows? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of other great actors, but who else is going to pull that off? Is Matt Damon going to pull that off? I don't think Matt Damon pulls that movie off.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Is Denzel Washington going to pull that off? No, that's not the kind of Denzel Washington movie. Like who? I can't really think of anybody else who's going to do that. Like what, the Memento guy? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Forget his name.
Guy Pearce.
Oh, Guy Pearce.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think some people unfairly think of him as like discount Brad Pitt.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
but
for sure.
I think Guy Pearce is better than Brad Pitt. But anyway, I think Guy Pearce.
I mean, you get my point.
Sure.
Though.
Yeah.
Like Shutter Island is a good movie.
I love that
it's
movie.
also an incredible. I mean, I think Leo makes that movie as well.
I agree with you. I love that movie. I think it's hard to imagine it without Leo.
Yeah.
And it's such a psychological movie. You're like inhabiting his brain, right?
Yeah.
And so he has to. All of the weight of the film is on his shoulders.
Yeah. And the way he just delivers that line at the end, where the famous line of him like saying like, which would be worse, to live as a monster or to die as a good man? And then he goes off. I mean, like the way he delivers that is just like you can just picture like Leonardo DiCaprio like saying that, and it's just like whoa, like just like drops the mic right there.
I think this is a good take, Sal. I can see Shutter Island as number 2. I'm trying to imagine. I know what my number 1 is, and
which is probably the same one for me.
Oh, maybe.
Let me get to it. Here we go. Okay. Or did you want to say about Shutter Island?
No.
You're good. Okay. Mm-hmm. So number 1, after just like really thinking about it, and this is another one I recently watched because it's a recent movie, but I know you had seen it before I did. And that's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yep.
This is Tarantino, right?
Yes.
Yeah. One of probably my favorite Tarantino movie. And it's funny that there's 2 Tarantino movies in my top 5 here with Django Unchained and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which, again, he's not like one of my favorite. I mean, like I like Tarantino, but Tarantino films aren't normally like, I'm not like crazy, like raving about them. Right, but it just speaks to Leo. Yeah,
or a few.
What I want to give you the chances as to why Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is one for you.
Yeah, you're seeing the actor here in his maturation. I mean, obviously, you can't act that way without having years and years of experience.
Yeah, and
I don't know. It seems to me like he just gets better and better. Mm-hmm. And look, I don't know how to put all the particulars to the art. I'm not an expert in the art, but it's simply the believability of the character.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah,
you just by his mannerisms, the way he talks, like this very insecure kind of person. It makes you think, oh, is this kind of like is this common to some actors that they're kind of like when they're not acting, they're this like. I don't know, a person that doesn't function well in society, like very insecure, right?
Yes,
very timid. It's so funny in that movie how like he's like a complete contrast from his helper, right?
Stunt double.
The stunt double, like he
Which
knows.
Brad Pitt does an incredible job at.
Yeah,
I mean,
he
like
does-
they
he
both
does
play
really
off
well.
of each other so well.
That's
I mean, like
true.
it's so good.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
It's like his stunt double knows how to do actual life, but the actor only knows how to do the fake life.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Oh,
like
that's
when
so good.
when he's acting in the movie, and it's so meta, right? Because it always kind of becomes that way when you have an actor playing an actor. It's just funny.
Yeah.
And of course, that scene, of course, where he is acting for this movie, right? With and the little girl is there, right? Remember like that
Yes.
scene where the girl's on his lap and he's like taking her hostage, and like that, the way he delivers that scene, it's like, whoa, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Like this guy, and then of course, what's funny is the little girl says, that's the best acting I've ever seen. And of course, everybody watching the movie is like, dude, yeah, that was the best acting I've ever seen.
Exactly.
It's almost like they know this.
So-
It's almost like they know it.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Or like it's like they added that line afterwards.
Maybe.
It's like he delivered that, and they're like, "Oh, we just gotta we have to pay homage to that what he just did." So hey, why don't you say this, and we'll add this to the to the script.
Maybe I will say that I think the main reason I love that movie is honestly just watching Leo act. It's just so great.
All right, next segment, Jim. Are you ready for it?
Would you rather, right?
Classic.
Okay.
Would you rather? All right. So the first one I have for you has to do a little bit with our own kind of quirks. We share a quirk that comes with being annoyed by certain kinds of eating, right?
Yeah.
Eating habits, noises specifically. So my question for you is, would you rather, if you had to listen to one thing forever, like you nonstop could hear it in your head, would you rather hear the classic popcorn?
Oh, the crunch of popcorn?
The crunch of popcorn, like constant, right?
Okay.
Would you rather that or this noise right here? When someone, it's like between chews and bites.
Yeah.
I get that this is like super specific to us,
No,
right?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But if you're, like us, give us a like or shout out a comment, if you know exactly what we're talking about and if this drives you crazy as well.
Right. So yeah.
So again, would you rather for the rest of your life listen to the crunch of the popcorn or the in-between bite or chew?
Yeah, so obviously, this is a huge problem for me, Sal. It's probably the one thing that just will make me snap. I mean, just food noises just drive me crazy, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's involuntary. I
No,
can't
me
help
too.
it.
Me
Like
too.
it will.
I'm the same. And I feel like I adopted it because of you, but I am the same now.
Yeah, like in the movie theater, it's rough. Yeah. Like if I'm surrounded by popcorn eaters, usually I kind of have to go back in my seat a little bit, cover my ears a little. Sometimes I'll kind of rest my ear on one of my hands to just minimize the noise.
Yeah,
it's scary how this affects me. Now, as to this, would you rather? I obviously would go with the popcorn.
Yeah, me too.
The gooey, sloshy, sticky sound of in between a bite. Yeah, so I guess this basically happens when you still have food in your mouth and you're going for another spoonful. And so you have this gooey, almost think of cement, right, between your teeth.
My gosh, dude.
No, yeah. I can't handle that. At least with popcorn, I can kind of brace myself a little more. I kind of know when it's coming. There's going to be a rhythm to it. You know what I mean? But the random slushy sound.
Yeah.
Especially because it might be kind of unexpected.
It's like a shot.
It's like suddenly there's
someone just just point blank
stab me. It's like suddenly
boom.
It's like suddenly
a stab. There we go. That's probably better. That's
Anyway, well now people know a little bit more about me.
I know, right? And me. I struggle with this as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one. Are you ready?
All right, next one.
We're taking a little bit of a dark turn.
Oh.
Okay. So, I don't know why. I feel like people are learning too much about me now too, but like I don't know why my brain just goes to this. I think just because the nature of the game.
Yeah.
But would you rather? And we're going here down the dark path of torture.
Wow.
Would you rather? Okay.
I thought it was already tortured.
Yeah,
Okay.
right, exactly.
So another form of torture.
Another
All right.
form of torture.
All right, let's go.
Would you rather get your knees like bashed in
Okay.
with a sledgehammer,
Okay.
or get your nails torn off?
Oh.
Your fingernails torn off.
Oh,
Wow, this
dude,
is
okay. Yeah, that's kind of rough.
when I say it out loud, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I promise I don't torture people.
Haven't I heard somewhere that like a bat to the knee, that's one of the most painful things?
Well, I feel like
Did
Brian Regan talks about. Remember, he has that bit of talking about
yeah.
the worst pain in the world
Yeah.
is
your femur
is your
breaking.
femur.
Yeah.
And then after that,
Something
it's childbirth or something like that.
Right. Okay. All right. So I don't know for sure if blunt force to the knees is one of the most painful experiences. It's obviously going to be ridiculous and horrific. But yeah, I mean, the whole torture aspect to getting your nails, just
This is so horrible.
yeah, torn off one by one, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think that is going to put that over the edge, that it's this dread of, the next one, the next one. Maybe
if we
with
have
the
any
knees-
listeners at this point, I think we're just losing them.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's on me.
Well, okay. I mean, I'm willing to bet that everybody thinks about these things, at least to an extent. Maybe it's
Right.
not. Maybe it's not the knee and the nails, but okay. Since we're talking about this, I'll actually share with you what I think would be the worst torture for me.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Like maybe there could be worse ones, but I'm like very claustrophobic, actually. Like pretty insanely
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, me too.
I have real trouble going into the MRI.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
And not even head first, like just even feet first. I'm just like getting a little panic attack there. So I don't know, for whatever reason, I was just like you. I was imagining like what would be the worst torture. I was thinking if you put me into like some kind of a box or like a closet or something, or some kind of
And
a
then
box.
it just doesn't even budge.
Yeah, like it's super tight. Like I even have to go like this to get in.
Don't watch the movie Buried with Ryan Reynolds.
No.
Oh my gosh.
I've heard about that. It's like I don't want to watch it.
Dude, the whole movie's in the coffin.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Actually, you should watch it because it's kind of insane how that movie.
Just like the knowledge that you're not going to be able to breathe, right? Or just the very fact that your own arms are like constricting you. And I know that I wouldn't last 5 seconds without just losing my mind.
Yeah.
So I think I kind of think that would be like the worst. The worst torture. I'll take the nails and the kneecap smash. Actually,
Oh my gosh.
I think I would.
So
over that.
But with those two, you said kneecap.
Yeah, I'll take that one.
I think so too, because same thing. Like I think you would probably avoid the slow pain of getting your nails like torn off or something like that. Well,
on that note,
I know, right?
yeah.
Oh, that positive note to end on. No, but it's interesting. It's a fun little experiment to anytime we get a chance to do that. Would you rather? It's great. Thanks for listening, guys.